To most of us, the life of a president is a mystery. We see them on TV making speeches and meeting with foreign leaders, but we know very little about how they really live, especially after they leave office. How do they make their money? What do they spend it on? Take, for example, former President Barack Obama. After 8 years running the country, he must have had some plans for how he was going to let loose. So what did he get up to? Where did he go? What did he buy? Well, just a month into his semi-retirement, the former president headed out to Necker Island for a well-deserved vacation. Necker Island, of course, belongs to renegade billionaire Richard Branson. Now, throughout his time as president, the Secret Service had done their best to keep Obama from harm. But unfortunately for fun-loving Obama, that meant that all water sports were off limits. Keep in mind, having grown up surfing off the coast of Hawaii, this left Obama very disappointed. But in 2017, he was far away from the prying eyes of his security guards. Surrounded by the white beaches of Branson's private island, Obama finally got his chance to try kite surfing. And it seems he was a very fast learner. By the end of the trip, he and Branson had a contest to see who could stay up the longest, and Obama won. Just look how happy that made him. After his time with Branson was done, the former president zipped off to Tetiaroa, one of the French Polynesian islands located in the South Pacific. The island had once been a destination for Tahitian royalty for many years. That was until Marlon Brando bought it in the 1960s and turned it into a luxury resort. Now, we've got a video all about the Brando Island. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll leave a link in the description below for you to check out. But while Obama certainly enjoyed his time there, even hanging out with celebrities like Oprah, Bruce Springsteen and Tom Hanks, he also had some business to attend to. You see, he'd just signed a book deal with the publisher Penguin Random House, and he needed a quiet place to start writing. Not a bad office, right? So how much did all of these trips cost the former president? After all, a month-long stay at the Brando, as the resort is called, costs around $72,000, depending on the season. If you're wondering how he can afford this kind of vacation and how much of a dent it might make on his bank balance, stay tuned, I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's take a look at what's probably Obama's biggest expense, his houses. As you'd expect from someone who spent 8 years in what's arguably the most iconic house in the world, Obama didn't do too bad for himself after he left office. Because of their youngest daughter, Sasha, who was still finishing high school back in 2016, the Obamas settled into an upscale neighborhood in Washington, D.C., known as Kalorama. Their roughly $8 million mansion includes 9 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and, after the Obamas moved in, an in-ground swimming pool. In fact, it's the second largest home in the area, second only to, who else? Jeff Bezos. But this isn't the Obamas' only home. Besides the various vacation properties that they rent out, the Obamas have 2 more permanent homes. One is located in Martha's Vineyard, an island located south of Cape Cod in Massachusetts, with 7 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms and a guest house, all on a secluded 30 acres of land. This is not your average second home. Just check out the ocean views. The property cost the Obamas about $11.75 million. That's more than their primary residence back in DC. But with stunning views like that, they definitely seem to have got what they paid for. Their other home is in Chicago. This is the one that they were actually living in when Barack was first elected president. They purchased that one back in 2005 for $1.65 million. And although they technically still own it, these days it's more of a landmark than it is an actual home. Except for an occasional tourist snapping a picture out the front, it stays relatively quiet. Alright, while we're talking about Obama's houses, it's worth mentioning his friend's stunning beachfront Hawaiian villa. Now, while it doesn't belong to the Obamas, it is a property they frequently visit for vacations. Nestled between mountains and the beach, the villa was once the set for the most popular TV show of the 80s, Magnum P.I. Now, instead of Tom Selleck running up and down the white sands, you'll instead find Barack and Michelle. They use their time there to do everything from kayaking, golfing, and even visiting the zoo. I guess it's only natural that given he was born in Hawaii, he wants to go back and visit his birthplace. I mean, if you were born in Hawaii, wouldn't you? Now, before I reveal how Obama actually makes his money, it's worth noting that he didn't always spend tens of thousands of dollars on luxury vacations. Before he was famous, Barack actually took a solo trip through Europe and Africa. He calls that trip, quote, a journey of self-discovery, and it was while on this trip, often when he was short on cash, that he had some of his fondest memories. As he recalls, quote, I was travelling alone and I'd basically buy a baguette and cheese and ate that every day, and some wine on occasion. How times have changed, hey? So let's talk about how Barack and the family actually make their money. Remember how I mentioned Barack was actually writing a book while at the Brando Island? Well, it turns out it was a pretty lucrative vacation for him. That book deal with Penguin Publishers, which also included a book by Michelle too as part of the overall contract, it netted their family $65 million. And that's on top of the other book deals he previously had. Between 2005 and 2016, Barack made about $15.6 million from advances and royalties for the books that he'd already published. The Audacity of Hope, Of Thee I Sing, A Letter to My Daughters, and Dreams from My Father. The Obamas also signed a $50 million deal with Netflix in 2018, which resulted in the documentary version of Michelle's best-selling memoir, Becoming. It's no surprise then that after entering the White House with an estimated $1.3 million back in 2008, the Obamas now have anywhere from $40 to $135 million in their piggy bank, depending on which source you ask. And Barack's pension is nothing to sneeze at either. As you can probably imagine, a yearly $200,000 paycheck direct from the White House adds up pretty quickly. Now, that brings me to one last way that the Obamas spend their money: charity. While in office, Barack donated about $1.1 million of his yearly salary to a number of different charities, much of which actually went to the Fisher House Foundation, which provides temporary housing and other support to families of injured soldiers. He also donated all of the $1.4 million that came with his 2009 Nobel Peace Prize, and Michelle gave away over $500,000 of her profits from her book deal. But their most ambitious charity project, and the one that perhaps means the most to them, is the Obama Presidential Center. Located on the south side of Chicago, this huge urban center will be, quote, a world-class museum and public gathering space that celebrates our nation's first African-American president and first lady. With recreation areas, a garden, a library, and outdoor commons, the project is meant to revitalize the historically poor South Side by promoting community engagement and employment opportunities. Having once been a community organizer here, it makes sense that Barack would want to continue his work. But how much has the project actually cost them? Apparently, they've donated about $1 million of their own money to the center, which is estimated to cost about $830 million by the time it's completed. Fortunately, the Obamas have had a lot of help, with Nike, the sportswear brand, pitching in an additional $5 million, along with a number of other wealthy philanthropists who you might recognize. But the Obama Presidential Center isn't the only charitable contribution Barack has made to the south side of Chicago. In 2017, he donated $2 million to the city to pay for summer job programs meant to help the youth. Although Obama has little desire to be back in the Oval Office, I guess he's not done making a mark on his country. So from kite surfing with billionaires to breaking ground on his presidential center, Barack and his family have been pretty busy over these past few years. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you haven't already seen our video about Marlon Brando's island, I'll leave a link on screen for you to check out. Thanks for watching, catch you on the next video.